Hey everyone, if you're new here, my name is Ethan, and today we are talking about the DJI RS3 Pro, specifically paired with the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K, and even more specifically, paired with the Tilta Full Cage. And as you can see, spoiler alert, it works quite well. In this video today, we're going to be taking a look at the unboxing and what it all comes with and what it looks like when you first get the gimbal, setting it up for the first time, some test footage and some practical use cases. And I'm going to close with some of my final thoughts about using this gimbal. As with any great YouTube video, I am going to timestamp everything so that you can skip around if you're looking for something specific out of this video. I will also link everything that we talk about today in the description below so that if you like it or you're looking for a solution to a problem that we talk about today, it'll link below. Those are affiliate links so that if you buy something, we will get a kickback from that. But that's a great way for you to support this channel without any additional cost to you. So thank you for checking those links out. Let's jump right in and take a look at the unboxing and what you get with this gimbal. One thing I admire about DJI is their branding and packaging. They kind of have the Apple aesthetic where it's super clean and minimal and well packaged. Also similar to Apple products, they kind of just work. So opening it up, you have this nice soft shell carry case that has everything packed away neatly. And what I love about this Pro combo kit is that it comes with everything that you need, including all the cables and connections and everything you need for the focus system to work. So opening up the package, you have obviously your main gimbal and then the battery handle. I believe you can buy additional battery handles, which is cool for this. But I have another solution that we'll talk about here in a minute. In this Pro kit, you get a lot of accessories, and one of them is this arm here, this grip that you can adjust and put at different angles. I usually am rocking the Sigma 18-35 lens on this camera, and with the full cage, it is kind of a heavy camera package. So a lot of times I find myself holding it with two hands like this. You know, and it's really nice because I can go for a lot of different angles. I can dip it down if I need to go in underslung mode. It's a really great, you know, additional place to hang on to this gimbal for security. One thing that really caught my eye with this gimbal is that it comes with a focus motor, and it can be set up so that this trigger wheel here can control your focus motor, which is huge because another complaint that a lot of people have with the Blackmagic cameras is that there is no autofocus. Well, it becomes a hassle to, you know, put your hand out in front like this and adjust focus that way. So the fact that it comes with a focus motor and, you know, you can set it up to be controlled with this trigger wheel here, that was huge for me. Another thing I was really excited for with this package is that it comes with the Raven transmission system so that it sends a signal to my phone wirelessly. And of course it comes with this awesome rotating phone mount here. And actually I use my phone as an additional monitor. Having this phone here means if I go in underslung mode, I can still see, you know, my image and I can see what's in focus and my exposure. The other thing that I love that DJI does here is that they include any kind of cable that you would need. There's kind of a weird system for these base plates here that come with it. It's kind of a base plate that fits into a base plate, but it's necessary for this little attachment here. You can see my focus motor is set up on this pole, and that's just screwed in there. For the most part, this camera will stay on this gimbal for the majority of a shoot, especially if it's something like a wedding. The only exceptions would be to put it on a tripod. So it's really nice to set it up once, you know, at the beginning of the day and then leave it on there but to have the capability to switch between this and putting it on a tripod quickly is really nice to have as well. You can buy this gimbal by itself without the Pro kit, but I find with the Blackmagic camera specifically, a lot of these things, you know, the extra grip, the phone mount, the focus motor, the image transmission, a lot of these things are accessories that I'm gonna have to get eventually down the road anyway. So I just waited until I could buy the full kit all together. The next thing I wanna talk about is setting this gimbal up for the first time. Now, I would highly recommend that you leave some time for you to play around with this gimbal at first. I'll say this probably took me close to an hour the first time I was putting my camera and everything on there, just figuring out how everything worked. Now, obviously, that might be different for you if you're familiar with the Ronin series of gimbals, but for me, the last gimbal I owned was a cheap Zion gimbal that was only really big enough to support my small DSLR, which I am shooting with right now. Shout out to the Canon SL2 for this video. But I'll show you what I have going on here with this rig because it solved a lot of my problems and it may do the same for you. So whenever I shoot, I like to have scratch audio. I normally do have a wireless lav system going on here for my Rode Wireless Go 2s, but I'm using that to record this video right now. I have a shotgun mic here. I'm recording to an external SSD here. I got the Samsung T5. One thing with the Tilta Full Cage, I pretty much leave it untouched except for I take off, it comes with a 90-degree adapter for your HDMI cable. I take that off. I love that when I'm using it as a handheld rig, but for a gimbal setup, I find that, you know, the angle to plug in this HDMI to your Raven Eye transmitter is much better if you just take that off. Another complaint about the Blackmagic cameras is battery life. I mean, you probably have about 20 minutes if you're just going to use the native batteries that come with this camera. So you almost always have to have a battery solution, especially if you're going to be shooting for 6 to 8 hours. So for me, I have a lot of these NPF batteries, these Sony style batteries just laying around. I use them for lights. They're pretty universal for a lot of filmmaking gear. So what I did is I bought a battery plate that supports those batteries, and then I just bought a cable that goes from the DC out right into the camera here. The other nice thing about this, the other solution, a little hack here, is that you know, if you have several of these batteries, you can also run a cable into the gimbal and charge the gimbal itself while you're using it. So this has a couple USB ports out here, and so I was shooting a wedding recently actually, and you know, we were taking a while with the couple doing their, you know, just the bride and groom photos, and I noticed my gimbal battery was getting pretty low. So what I did was I just went back, I grabbed a basic USB-C cable and ran it into the bottom of this gimbal. So I was powering my camera and my gimbal off of this same battery package. I do want to put a little disclaimer out there. You want to make sure you're paying attention to what battery plate you're buying and the voltage that it can output. I bought a battery plate by Newer that looked like, in theory, everything should work and would have enough voltage to power the camera. But after a while of using it, my camera would just shut off. Even though it said it's, you know, plugged into power and everything, I think there just wasn't enough voltage coming from the battery plate into the camera. So I ended up buying this one. This one is by Koirtaku, and I actually like this. I bought a V-mount battery plate from them, and it came with all the cables specific for the Blackmagic, and even like a dummy battery solution, if that's something you need as well. Highly recommend. Again, like I said, I'll link everything in the description below if that's something that you're needing as well. After I got the camera and gimbal all set up, I was excited to go out and shoot, and so I called up my buddy Spencer and we went to Columbus and just was going to shoot for fun for an evening just so I could get used to it. Like a lot of people, I don't like to fold up my gimbal after I got it all set up, so I left my camera on there and I put everything in my front seat and I strapped it in with the seat belt. But because of traffic, you know, I hit on my brakes and the gimbal ended up falling forward a little bit, and it actually snapped one of the USB-C cables. I'll throw up a picture so you can see what happened to that cable. Thankfully, everything else was fine, but just use caution if you're going to keep your gimbal set up as you're traveling. I thought that I would be fine when I got there. I thought, you know, I'll just change it out with another USB-C cable, but apparently the DJI cables that come with this gimbal are proprietary to this setup. So you can't just use any USB-C cables with this gimbal. You have to use the DJI specific ones. And so to buy another one was $20 for one USB-C cable. So be careful if you are traveling with this gimbal set up. Overall, I just love that this is possible. For me, I love the Blackmagic cameras. A lot of people have hesitations with this camera because there are limitations, right? You have no flip screen, the battery life, no autofocus. I love that this gimbal fixes a lot of those problems and that I can use this camera how a lot of people are using some higher end cameras for a fraction of the cost. Overall, I thought the gimbal was pretty easy to use. I thought the footage turned out great, and it's really fun to shoot with this setup. It really allowed me to shoot weddings and real estate the way that I want to and how people are used to seeing it. You know, a lot of people are using gimbals these days, whether it's with a phone or like a nice camera on here. So to be able to use my camera with, you know, very little adjustments, I can keep the cage and have all my mounting points and everything that I love about having a cage on my camera, and that this gimbal can fly it all. They have this manual physical switch here on the side that you can adjust between your PTF, your PF, and FPV mode, which is really convenient. I'm used to shooting in the PF mode, so I normally keep it there all the time. But it was really easy for me to figure out how to get to the mode that I was most comfortable with. Another great thing about this gimbal that a lot of people love is the auto locking feature. So with one touch of the button, I can lock the gimbal like this. So when I'm moving from location to location, you know, normally these arms are flopping around and you know, going every which way, and it's very annoying, especially if you have an expensive camera and lens on here. It's nice to have that peace of mind, and then when you're ready to start shooting again, you hit one button and you're ready to go. Love that feature. I do want to say there are easier camera packages out there for sure. This camera setup is not for everybody. I do a lot of short film work and I do commercials and corporate work, and I find that I really love editing the Blackmagic footage, and so I wanted to build a system around that camera. There are other great cameras out there, and full disclosure, they are probably easier to set up with a gimbal than this setup is. When I was first approaching stabilization for the Blackmagic, I actually went with the Steadicam first. I bought the Flycam Red King, which is a great, you know, Steadicam system, and I have the vest and spring arm and everything to go with it, and it works great. And the nice thing is I can pull off the camera and just have that as a handheld rig as well. But as I was starting to pick up more weddings and some real estate work, I realized that that is not the most practical solution to shooting some of those things, and that there are some jobs where that setup is better for, and there are some jobs that the gimbal is just going to be better at and more practical and functional. The other reason I decided to go with the DJI RS3 Pro is that they made the cradle just a little bit bigger, so I can fit this whole camera package on here with the full cage, no problem. I think that would be a bit of a struggle, and I saw people using, you know, a base plate that would offset it a little bit so that you could fit the Blackmagic on here. But you know, the bigger cradle makes everything a lot easier, and I find that it, you know, it moves around just fine. In the end, simpler is better. There is a lot of value in simplicity, and sometimes having a camera on a gimbal that you can hold without any other equipment is that's really valuable for a lot of shoots. So I am overall super happy with this setup. Eventually, I do want to try combining the Steadicam and the gimbal to make a, you know, a budget RE Trinity kind of situation. But that video will have to wait for now. If you have a Blackmagic or are considering to buy one but are hesitant because you're trying to figure out stabilization or how to use it with a gimbal, I highly recommend this setup, and I think it's a great way to go. And I hope this video helps you as you try to figure out, you know, what's going to be best for your workflow. My other final thought is that, you know, the Blackmagic system is probably not the route to go if you don't enjoy, you know, building rigs or problem solving or, you know, trying to find creative battery solutions. I enjoy that a little bit, and I've really, you know, embraced that with the Blackmagic system, whether it's the handheld rig or, you know, putting it on the Steadicam or here on the gimbal as well. It can be done, but I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, so I just want to put it out there as a forewarning. But that is my review of the DJI RS3 Pro. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far in the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. We do a lot of content around the Blackmagic camera system and filmmaking and creating a creative business as a whole. So if that's stuff you're into, be sure to subscribe. If you have additional questions about this rig or other questions with the Blackmagic camera, or just filmmaking in general, leave a comment down below and we will try our best to make a video to answer some of those questions in the future. Thank you so much for watching and supporting the channel, and I hope to see you in the next one.